Welcome everybody. Pranam Maharaj ji. It is extremely kind of you to have given us time and speaking to us in spite of your such busy schedule. People are really waiting for the second part of the lecture because you uh, kind of ended your first part in a very interesting way and resulting in lot of curiosity on the people how to regain the essence of Vedanta to life. So people are eagerly waiting for you. Maharaji, please allow me to sort of give some idea about the lectures that we are going to have in the coming few weeks. But before that, we would like to say that Swamiji is so kind. Swami Pitambarananda ji, as you know, is a very senior monk of the Ramakrishna order. And today he will speak on the second part of his lecture on Vedanta, Ramakrishna Vivekananda, and our present difficulties. He basically, many people are eager to listen to his how to regain the essence of Vedanta to life. So in the next Sunday we have also another very interesting lecture by Swami Dayananda ji, Principal Ramakrishna Mission, Silpa Mandira, Kolkata, West Bengal, India. That is at 5:30 p.m. same time, and he will be speaking on the gems of letters from Swami Vivekananda to his foreign disciples. We would also like to sensitize you about the lecture on 5th December by Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. He will speak on Krishnamurti and Ramakrishna, the Sermon on the Mount, a Vedantic reading. So on 12th December, we have the London Swamiji will speak on Sri Ramakrishna and his universal message. So also that will be Sarvasthananda ji will speak. And again, we'll have the good fortune of hearing Swamiji, Swami Pitambarananda ji on Tithi Puja day of Sardama. Swami Pitambarananda ji will speak on the real nature of Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi, on 26th December. So that will be very interesting. And before we start the lecture, will request our well-wisher and the member, Ms. Jana, to speak for 2 minutes in Filipino and in English, so that the Filipino audience can appreciate the import of the topic. Ms. Jana.
Yes, Pranam. Thank you. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Maraming salamat po sa pagdalo ninyo dito sa Ramakrishna Vedanta Society Philippines Talk Series. Pangungunahan po ni Swami Pitambarananda ji ang ikalawang bahagi ng Paksang Vedanta, Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and our present problems. Naway maging pagkakataon po ito para sa ating lahat na mas maging ma-familiarize natin ang mga sarili natin sa Vedanta teachings. At mahanapan natin ito ng relevant sa ating mga araw-araw na pamumuhay. Indeed, as Swami Pitambarananda ji mentioned last week, if it were not for the current situation, this pandemic, we would not be gathered here to learn about Vedanta. And great souls to reach these teachings are passed on. Maraming salamat po. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Now I would request Pitambarananda ji Maharaj to start his discourse. Swami Pitambarananda ji.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति. Friends, on the last Sunday, we spoke about Vedas, and we saw that Vedas consist of three types of subtler knowledge. The most important aspect of the Vedas can be called Devata Gyan, the direct knowledge of cosmic deities like Agni Devata, Varuna Devata, Indra Devata, Chandra Devata, etc. Everything in the vision of the rishis is endowed with consciousness, and they also saw the totality is one. That is fire in my house, fire in your house, fire in the forest, fire in the ocean, fire in my stomach. They are all one fire, and there is a consciousness behind this cosmic phenomena called fire. Similarly, all cosmic phenomena have a consciousness behind that, and that is called devatas. And the praise of those devatas is the main part of the Vedas, called say Sangita portion. Then from there, due to selfishness of man, he demands something, he requests praise something to the devatas to give him this or give him that. For that again, the rishis saw the connection between good karmas and particular heavens, bad karmas and the particular hells. That was also seen. What karma leads next birth as man? What karma makes next birth as heaven? Devaloka. So the second part of the Vedas, called the Brahmanas, is the connection between work and its result seen in a superficial sense. And the third part, called the Aranyakas, is that when a man becomes disgusted with this gross world which he deals with every day, he retires to the forest and depends entirely on his mind to think of God. And this mind becomes so strong that whatever results he can get by work, he gets by mental worship. And that portion is called Aranyaka. This is what we thought about the Veda. Then we also saw that when this knowledge reaches its highest height, when our selfishness is suppressed or reduced or removed, this praise of the Deva, the devotion to the Deva, has a capacity to raise the level of our consciousness. And the ultimate point of our consciousness is that the rishis actually feel there is only one reality throughout the world, one consciousness throughout the world. All the devatas, my own consciousness, devata's consciousness merges into the experience of one consciousness. And this one consciousness is all pervading and beyond everything. This one consciousness pervades all the matter also. There is nothing called matter. This consciousness appearing through names and forms is what we call matter. So we saw that the Vedanta, the culmination of the Vedic knowledge, results in the name given to this one consciousness is Atman or Brahman or Ishvara. That I will tell you today now. Three names are reserved for this consciousness. If we try to find out what is the consciousness at the back of the world, what is the reality of this world or world, cosmic, then the answer is Brahma. If we ask what is the reality of all the individuals, not a particular individuals, but taking them as individuals, what is the reality of all the individuals? The name is Atman. And if you ask the question, who rules this world? Who governs this world? No extra cosmic God can rule this world. Never, never, never. But that which is transcendent immanent, that which is beyond everything, untouched by everything, and all pervading, interpenetrating, immanent through the world. That consciousness alone can rule the world. And then the name given to that consciousness is God or Ishvara. So, three names, an example was given to me by my teacher. Suppose there is a person, Subodh Mukherjee, and in the office he works as executive engineer. The office is called HN. His friends call him Mr. Mukherjee. And in the house he is called Subodh Babu. No, there are no three different persons. The person is one. According to the different context, the three names are given. In the same way, please never feel that there is a difference between Atman and Brahman. Never, never, never. In the Upanishads, in the same mantra, Atman is used to begin, Brahman is used to end. In one mantra Brahman, next mantra Atman. No difference is made at all. The difference is only in the reference. If we ask what is the reality of the whole world, the answer is Brahman. If we ask what is the reality of all the beings, it cannot be different than the world. But we are thinking of individuals. And what is the reality of all the individuals? Then the reply is Atman. And who rules this world, who governs this world, then the reply is Ishvara or God. Now this is Vedanta in a nutshell. Now, this is mainly contained in the Upanishads, which are parts of the Vedas. Not particular parts. Parts are Sangita, Brahman, Aranya. But in Sangita there are Upanishads, in Brahman there are Upanishads, in Aranya there are Upanishads. So wherever the knowledge reaches the culmination, it becomes Vedanta or the Upanishads. That is the primary source of Vedanta. Another equally important source of Vedanta is the Bhagavad Gita. Swami Vivekananda calls it as the best commentary on all the Vedanta. So Bhagavad Gita is the second source of Vedanta. And Badarayana Vyas, he made a systematic philosophy out of the Upanishads by arranging Upanishadic sentences in a particular way. That called the Brahma Sutras or Vedanta Sutras is the third authority of Vedanta. Now, this Upanishads, it is like something like short notes. Very briefly they state about things.
Upanishad.
And the language is ancient. How many years back nobody knows. The research people go on changing their dates. And we do not know. Thousands of, 10,000s or how many thousands of years back it came. And it is a developing science. So, it requires explanation for the Bhashyas. Because it is brief statements, because the language is what is called archaic, so for us to comprehend, it requires commentaries, Bhashyas, explanation. Without that, it is almost impossible. Gita can be understood to a great extent, but the Upanishads very, very difficult to understand. And so, it becomes essential to have commentaries or Bhashyas. Of all the known Bhashyas, Shankar Bhashya is the best authority. Now, Shankara composed his commentary in the 8th century AD. So almost 2000 years have gone by, 1200 years at least. And that Vedanta which comes to us is through Shankar's commentary on the Upanishads. Remember this. Vedanta tells that the reality is one without a second, transcendent, immanent, beyond all, pervading all, consciousness, existence, bliss. In short, I am telling you, existence, consciousness, bliss, reality, one without a second, transcendent, immanent, beyond everything, pervading and interpenetrating everything. Now this has to go into our minds. This has to enter our experience. We have to experience this reality. Vedanta is not a system of philosophy or system of thought. Vedanta is the experiential knowledge of this reality. And so it has to go into our own experience. And now the source for us is Shankara Bhashya on all these scriptures. Now, what has happened? I told you that the reality is transcendent immanent. Shankaracharya, due to whatever reasons he felt better, has emphasized the transcendent aspect of the reality. Please listen carefully at this point. Shankaracharya has not denied the immanent Brahman, but he has emphasized the transcendent aspect of Brahman again and again to the full measure. First point. Secondly, though Shankar himself tells very clearly that reason or intellectual understanding cannot reach Brahman, very clearly they say. It is only the experience in the heart which can reach. Yet, Shankar's presentation is too much intellectual or rational. First point, Shankar has emphasized Nirguna Brahma, the transcendent aspect of Brahma, and so the Saguna aspect or the immanent aspect or the all-pervading aspect has become suppressed in Shankara's literature. First point. Second point, though Vyasadeva himself and Shankaracharya again and again tell that reason is no instrument to reach Brahman, rationality cannot reach Brahman, it has to be super rational experience in the heart, yet the presentation by Shankaracharya is too much rational, intellectual. Second point. Third point, there are hints in Upanishads that the all renouncing sannyasis only can reach Brahman through the Upanishad. There are hints. But Shankar has emphasized that tremendously. So, the traditional Vedanta went to forest. Traditional Vedanta did not touch the household life of man. The traditional Vedanta remained in forest. Now, this is the situation faced before the advent of Ramakrishna Vivekananda. Vedanta enables man to realize his own real nature, which is beyond all problems of all sorts, because it speaks of the infinite bliss a man can achieve. Man can achieve perfection in life. Man can achieve infinite bliss in life. He will not have any want. The faculty of want itself vanishes because he is all. Because man is all. What can he want? Though Vedanta is capable of doing this to man, to solve all the problems of all the eternal problems of man can be solved. But the Vedanta which existed before the advent of Sri Ramakrishna was reserved to the forest dwellers, sannyasis, too much emphasis on the transcendent aspect of the Brahman, and so the bhakti was suppressed. Bhakti depends upon God who is in me. God is all pervading. God is interpenetrating. Then a love comes. But the love got suppressed because the whole thing became intellectual and only Nirguna Brahman. And it remained in the forest, not touching at all the practical life of man. These three difficulties grew and grew and grew. If Shankar emphasizes something, his disciples make that as everything. If Shankar says that transcendent Brahman is the reality, the disciples will show that the immanent Brahman is lower, it is not real. That is the problem. That was the problem faced by India and the whole world before the advent of Sri Ramakrishna. So I explained Vedas to Vedanta and the beauty of Vedanta, and the Vedanta in its own reality is able to solve every problem of ours. It will take us beyond all problems. Whether corona or not will not come concern a man. We have seen persons who are, Swami Vivekananda has given a beautiful example. Swami Vivekananda was in Rishikesh and he saw one person with bare body, torn clothes, coming down the street. And the bad boys of the town, street urchins, they were throwing stones at him and he was bleeding. And that man is laughing all the time and is telling how nice we are playing at throwing stones. We are playing at throwing stones, how nice, how beautiful. And he was laughing. Now what problems did this man face? But Swamiji could not tolerate that scene. He drove out those boys, caught that man forcibly, and burned cloth or whatever is available, and applied ashes on his wounds. That man was laughing all the time. That man was filled with bliss all the time. Now can we imagine this? This is the result of Vedanta. That whatever may be the external situation, corona or no corona, I told you on the first day, corona is not that troublesome with the fear of corona is. I will give my own example. I never got tested for corona, never, never, never. So, fear of corona is more than corona. All the friend doctors tell us, it is just a form of common cold, nothing more. Just a little acute form of flu, nothing more. But we die out of fear. And we control everything out of fear. Now, let that go. But such a man, take Sri Ramakrishna himself, they are the brightest examples of what is called Vedanta. Nothing happens to them. Now the best example available at this point is what Swami Vivekananda is known about that man in Rishikesh. And there were plenty such people, and there are plenty such people even today. If you go to Maharashtra, there were 4 people, 3 brothers and a sister, who for some fault, supposed fault of his parents, the parents had to commit suicide, and the 3 brothers and sisters were outcasted, and they were full of bliss. They became the teachers of humanity, and they taught their methods to all the people, and thousands of people followed them. Even today, in Maharashtra and outside also, thousands of people follow them. So, the outside situation may be worse, but the man can be happy. Man can be perfect. But when the Vedanta came to us, before Sri Ramakrishna, it had remained in the forest, not applicable, not applied to householder's life or everyday life of the human beings. That was the point. Secondly, so much emphasis on the transcendent aspect of Brahman that we lost the connection with Brahman. We lost the love of Brahman. And so, bhakti became neglected. Bhakti, which is the most potent force in a man's life, became neglected. And Brahman is only for the people with higher knowledge, let them go to forest. That became the situation. I won't say it is fault of Shankar, but our Holy Mother, about whom I am going to speak, she has said that all the old Mahapurushas emphasize some particular aspect of spiritual experience, because of which other aspects became suppressed. They did not suppress. but they emphasized a particular aspect because of which all other aspects became suppressed. And she added, this time it has not happened so. This time means in the advent of Sri Ramakrishna. He has emphasized every aspect of God realization. Transcendent, yes. Immanent, yes. Yogic methods, yes. Devotional methods, yes. Pure work, yes. So, positive thoughts came. Now, this was the situation before the advent of Sri Ramakrishna. Forest, intellectual, transcendent Brahma. Now, Sri Ramakrishna saw what is the result. The result is that people are going away. One of my friends, a Swami of the Ramakrishna Mission, he, from his birth, the sanskaras told him, there is a God and we have to love it. And that became his very blood and constitution. And then he saw, he appreciated Vedanta. He wanted to, he heard the glory of Vedanta. He wanted to study Vedanta. And there some friends told him, there is no place of God in Vedanta. Listen, the Vedanta presented to us, I have told you, God or Ishvara is the ruler of the world. Now, ruler of the world is not his only function, he is beyond everything. That is another thing. But to say there is no God, it is travesty of Vedanta. And he was shattered with nerves that I love God, I cannot give up God. And I want Vedanta. Some years back, he met me in Belgaum, India. And I showed him in Gita 130 references to Ishvara. All the Upanishads talk of Ishvara. But as we received the Vedantas, we become the situation. We lost the touch with Bhakti. Even today, the so-called tradition, I call them so-called traditional. So-called traditional Vedantas deny anything called Bhakti. Though Shankara has very clearly talked about it. In the great book Viveka Chudamani, he says, Moksha sadhana samagram bhaktireva gariyas. Bhakti is the most important part of all the material which we require for reaching perfection. And yet they say, no, it does not mean that, it means that. This was the situation. And it was never thought to be practical or can be applied in human life. If you want to apply Vedanta in your life, go to forest first of all. Crush all your softer sentiments. No soft sentiment is allowed. That is the Vedanta presented to us. I recommend to all of you a chapter from Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master. It describes, Sri Ramakrishna was fond of describing all methods of religion. So one day he was talking of Vaishnavism. And he said that the Vaishnavas lay emphasis on 3 points for spiritual life. One is that we should take the name of God with taste. The taste in the recitation of the name of God is the main principle of Vaishnava. In Bengali, Name Ruchi. Second point, honoring and worshipping the Vaishnava. That means those who are advanced or reach perfection or more perfect than us, advanced than us, we should worship them. And the third point is that Jive Daya. We should have compassion for the Jivas. Jivas is the Vaishnava terminology for all those who are not Vaishnava. Men. Men in general are called Jivas. And we should have compassion about them. Now, Sri Ramakrishna told these 3 points. But when he tried to explain, he explained the Name Ruchi. He explained the honoring of Vaishnava. And he tried to explain the Jivedaya. His mind recoiled, went inside, and he reached the supreme experience of Vedanta, which is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where the difference between God and man is totally obliterated. And then, coming down from there, he said, you are a one, who you are, how you can have compassion? No compassion. But Shiv Gyani Jiv Seva. Serve man, serve those whom you are calling Jivas, with the knowledge that they are nothing but forms of God. Shiva Gyani. Swami Vivekananda was one of the listeners. He was Narendranath Datta at that time. Afterwards, he said to his friends, today I have seen a new light in my life. And this new light can be called practical Vedanta. And this practical Vedanta, now generally, man goes to God in 4 different ways. The way of knowledge or thinking, the way of bhakti or devotion, the way of yoga or self-control, and the yoga of practical work helping people. He said it is throwing light on all the 4 paths. The work in the Vedas, Karma Kanda, was through home, havan and all that. But what work better you can do than serving all your fellow beings without discrimination of caste, creed, culture, or any such thing. Country, nothing, no discrimination. No discrimination of man, woman, or genders. Without any discrimination, if you can serve all the beings with the knowledge that they are forms of God. So this karma became a universal, all-sided aspect. If you dig wells for people, not only that work, but the idea that by this you are worshipping God. The principles are there in all our scriptures. In the Gita and all these scriptures, we have the principle. But they were lost to humanity because of this emphasis. And Sri Ramakrishna and following, what is Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda we are talking? Let us hear in Vivekananda's words. He lived the life, he left me to explain. Swami Vivekananda talks of Sri Ramakrishna, he lived the life, he left me to explain. That is the relation. They are never separate. Sri Ramakrishna lived the life and Swami Vivekananda explained to all of us how to use that life, how to apply everything in that life to our needs. So, that is why this point is word Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda. The very significance of these words is that Sri Ramakrishna is the life, Swami Vivekananda is the explanation. In many places, Swami Vivekananda said, I am a voice without a form. I am a voice without a form. That means, don't look at my form, listen to my words only. And my words are describing what Sri Ramakrishna has lived or we have learned from him. So, Sri Ramakrishna was the first who remodeled the Vedanta. He brought that Vedanta to every home. Suppose the householder, cannot reach the absolute reality, can he not make progress? Can he not make his life elevated? Can he not go near perfection? Can he not reach God or Ishvara? He can certainly reach God or Ishvara. He may not reach the transcendent Brahman. Let alone. One day he will, but he can reach the highest in practical life. So the whole Vedanta became practical. The Yoga Marga, control oneself, became easy if we know that all are forms of God. I will tell you one or two tricks which I applied in my life. Suppose you are tempted by something. Try to feel that you are that thing. You will see the temptation will vanish. Identity is what Vedanta teaches us. Love binds the whole humanity. So love is truth, Swamiji says. Hatred divides us. So hatred is not Vedanta. If you can feel identity with the thing which you hate or love, that hate or love will vanish, you will get universal love in this place. I am telling you my own experience. When a particular thing tempts you or repels you, you should know that you are that thing. Because you are one form of Brahman, that thing is another form of Brahman. So basically, you are the same thing as that thing. If we can cultivate this feeling, you will see many difficulties will vanish. Now this caste in India and in Philippines, that becomes a troublesome source. Let the caste be there. I am going to God, you are going to God. Why quarrel? Why have privileges? So this Vedanta becomes a tool for humanity to rise in the positive direction in every sphere of life. In every sphere of life, I will give one or two examples. Education. Knowledge is inside man. Knowledge is the definition of God. And each man is nothing but a form of God. So all knowledge is inside. Then what is education? Remove the obstacles and the knowledge will come up. I had teachers in my life. I am eternally obliged to them. I will tell about one professor of mathematics. He would write a step on the board, leave some space and write another step, clearly showing that that is not the second step, that is the third step. And he would look at the boys and girls in his class. And everybody is struggling to come to that step. And as the thought comes, their face shines with joy. Having watched the whole class, they like many lights coming, flash, 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 flash. Then they saw that one or two faces are not smiling. Then he would write the second step. So knowledge is that which comes from within. Every sphere. We say that Newton discovered the law of gravitation. We should know Newton discovered the law of gravitation in the modern world in that century. Law of gravitation is eternal and people knew it eternally. You do not know, so you have to discover. And when we learn the law of gravitation, we have to discover it in ourselves. Till then we have not learned it. I will give you a funny example that I read in the book by Vinoba Bhave. The professor is teaching logic or philosophy. And he says, all men are mortal. Socrates was a man, so Socrates is mortal. Understood? And the students say, yes, we understood. That author of the book says, neither the professor has understood nor the students. All men are mortal. I am a man, I am mortal. Understood? All men are mortal. You are man, so you are mortal. Understood? That is understanding. So understanding should change our life. An example is quoted about the Pandavas learning. You must have heard the name Pandavas and Kauravas. And Yudhishthir was the eldest of the Pandavas. The teacher taught them on the first day, you should always speak the truth. You should never be angry. And he said, prepare these two lessons, I will ask tomorrow. Next day he asked, have you prepared the lesson? Everybody says, yes, yes, we have prepared. He asked Yudhishthir, Yudhishthira said, I prepared one lesson. It is very natural to me. But the second lesson I could not understand. I do get angry certain times. And the teacher became so angry on that point. Small lesson I gave, you could not prepare it. So he showed more anger, that teacher. We understand? To learn a lesson means learn it in life, not to memorize only. Always, I have seen very funny example, please. A phone rings early morning. Now, not the days of mobile, little before. So phone rings in the house and the father is lazy or does not want to respond. He tells his son, answer the phone, tell him father is not in the house. The son takes the phone, small boy. He says, my father is telling me to tell you that he is not in the house. You understand? So this artificiality of life has engulfed humanity. That is the main problem, not corona. The main problem is that we are lost touch with the real truth. We are lost touch with morality. We are lost touch with the struggle for perfection. What is the most important in the man's life? Whether he reaches or not is a different thing. In English, they say, not failure, but lower aim is crime. Failure is not a crime. Failures are the pillars of success, but lower aim is crime. Now, there is a wave these days. I met it in several places in India and must have been in foreign countries also. We have to be positive. We have to be positive. We have to be positive. What is positivism? Tell me. What can be positivism? I can realize God in my life. I can realize the absolute truth in my life. And I am struggling for that. This is positivity. If there are any means of reaching perfection, unselfish work, self-control, devotion, change of consciousness, if I rise in any one of them, that is positive life. Not hypothetical something. By positive, I shall grow. That is not positive. Positive is a man realizing God is the most positive thing. Man realizing his own blissful nature is the most positive. And anything in that direction is positive. Anything which helps me to realize my own real nature, which is eternally blissful, is positive. Positive. Another funny thing has come. Value education. That is a matter to be laughed at. What is education? But values. I will again quote my professor of mathematics. He would come to the class and ask us, why we learn equations? Why we learn equations? Those are little idea of mathematics will follow. To learn impartiality, we learn equations. If you have to add something to this side, we must add the same to the other side. Whatever you have to do to this side, you must do to the other side. For this, we learn equations. So every subject has values, the way to teach them. And so, this is value education. What we learn from history? What do we learn from history? The main thing we learn from history is that man does not learn from history. So and so government, there was a League of Nations, the so and so government made disagreement with so and so government, and it had so many drawbacks. After some years, the parties will change. Again, the same type of treaty. So we do not learn from history. What we should learn from history? That man is mortal. that kings are mortal, that scholars are mortal. If we learn this from history, then we will grow. We'll grow beyond the ideas of life and death. We'll seek the eternal life in Brahman. Suppose I realize my real nature, I shall never die. The body will perish, I shall never die. My mind will go to pieces, I shall never die because I am not this body, I am not this mind. This is what the Vedanta teaches us. So, Vedanta can be imbibed in life. To whatever extent let us imbibe, whether we are householders or sannyasis or students or lead. Swamiji said, Vedanta will make a doctor a better doctor. Vedanta will make engineer a better engineer. Vedanta will make a scientist a better scientist. Vedanta will make a pleader, advocate a better advocate. Because their mind will expand. And this Vedanta has been brought to us, brought very near to our life by Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda. So Vedanta is a great science. Vedanta teaches unity of the whole world. Vedanta teaches to love each other, but the way the Vedanta was presented to us had suppressed all these things. The Vedanta which was brought to us was in the forest. Go to forest if you want to practice Vedanta. Kill all your nobler or delicate sentiments if you want to practice Vedanta. That is how we had received Vedanta. And so, though Vedanta itself is a very, nowadays I am studying Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Every page is filled with love of God. Every page is filled with noble sentiments. But we are not taught Vedanta in that way. We are taught only that this is unreal. God is alone real. But what is this world? Remember, this world is unreal. God alone is real. That was the Vedanta taught to us. Let us add that God appears as this world. This is Ramakrishna Vivekananda. That God which is behind this changing world itself appears in the form of this world. The whole view changes. The whole view changes and love takes place in our heart. And love is the only saving force in humanity. Competitions will vanish. Why? I should reach first, he should. This distinction between I and you will vanish. So why competition? He is not different from me. If he gets the first prize, I shall be happy. I shall be happy if my friend gets first prize. And there are examples like that in the field of Vedanta. The great Acharya Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote a book on logic. One of his friends had written a book on logic, and they were coming together by boat in what is called Bangladesh now. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read out his book to him line by line. And that friend's face fell every time. Mahaprabhu asked him, are there so many mistakes? He said, no. Your book is so supreme that nobody will read my book. That is why I am feeling sorry. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted his book and threw in the river. I do not require faith. Let you have more. That is Vedanta. Unselfishness to the absolute. Devotion to God to the absolute. Change of our consciousness into higher consciousness to the absolute. That is Vedanta. Self-control. Again, let me quote Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. When he wanted to take sannyas, the Guru was afraid because people were worshipping Chaitanya as God. So he told him that you have to pass some test before I can give you Sandhya. All right, please. So he said, put out your tongue. And he put some sugar on that tongue. And after a few minutes, the wind came and the sugar was blown away. He had not felt salivation or tempted by that sugar to swallow it. So, this is what Vedanta can do to us. Vedanta will make us rise above all temptation. Vedanta will make us rise above all the worst situations in life because we'll never feel them they are worst. They are situations, that's all. One old Vedanti, the story is told about Alexander. It is Alexander could not reach India, you should know. His lieutenant, Megasthani, came to India. And his lieutenant was Seleucus. So the story is about Seleucus. His guru, Alexander's guru, Aristotle, when Alexander came to conquer the whole world, he asked his guru, what should I bring from India? He said, from India, please bring a little Ganges water. From India, please, if you can, bring the book on Gita. And main point is that from India, you bring a wise man to our country. So he is in search of a wise man. People told them, you will not find wise man in this city. You go to forest. So he saw a man sitting below a tree. And he asked him several questions about life and reality, and he got beautiful answers. So he said, please come with me to my country. The man said, why should I come? He was sitting below a tree. I will give you the best rooms to stay. He said, this is a nice room. I will give you beautiful clothes to wear. Now the bark of the tree is nice clothes. I will give you the best foods. And the tree gives me fruits and the roots, they are the best fruits. I will give you best drinks. The water of the stream is best. He became angry. If you do not listen to me, I will kill you. He laughed and said, Emperor, you can never kill me. You can destroy the body, you can never kill me. This is what Vedanta does to a man. And these are all facts of life. But these examples, which I am quoting from the forest, can be found in everybody's house, can be found in everybody's mind. We can raise ourselves to the heights of Vedanta by absorbing Vedanta in the way Ramakrishna Vivekananda have shown us. They have shown that this Vedanta can be brought to life. Vedanta can touch every field of life. I told about education, music, dance. Sri Krishna has raised, in India, what is the idea? Dance started from the god Shiva. So through dance we can express the joy of spirituality. Through dance we can express our love for God. And this art of dance will raise us spiritually. Music is a great help to spirituality. The so-called traditional Vedanta did not allow us that. Music, devotional music, Sama Veda is nothing but music. And so, the music will raise us to divinity. Anything in life will raise us to divinity, except one thing. Swami Vivekananda was asked, what is your idea about politics? Swami said, I have no idea about politics. He was again and again asked about politics. He said, I know God, I know truth, I do not know any other politics. A modern author, Petrim Sorokin, Russian settled in America, he has written a book in which the three main political thoughts, capitalism, democracy, and communism, he has examined and he has shown the inherent defect in each of them. Inherent defect in each of capitalism, democracy, and communism. Then he poses a question, can there be not a perfect politics? He said, yes. If the Rishi sages of India rule the world, it would be the best. And then he adds a line, but they will never rule. If sages of India become the rulers, it will be the best government, but they will never rule. So, anyway, every other field of life. Now, somebody has to do that politics also, that is a different thing. But every other field of life, there is a small book. There is one lesson by Swami Vivekananda, included in the fifth volume perhaps, notes of lectures and talks. In that one topic is given, preparations for higher life. Whole Swami Vivekananda literature can be thought of as preparation for higher life. So how the life level changes. So I am not talking about particular problems, is corona is posed and this and that. Problems in mankind are in his mind. Problems in mankind are due to limited thinking. Problems of mankind are due to thinking of himself at the cost of others. Problems of mankind is one man trying to dominate over others. Have you heard? Anyway, I do not want to enter that field. They say that the corona was spread by some business people so that they should earn money. Anyway, I think Nirmal, I overshot my time. You had told me that I can continue. So,
Maharaj, you can continue. You can continue.
I want to close. If you have any questions, I am ready.
So Maharaj ji has raised a very important issue, how Ramakrishna Vivekananda brought Vedanta to our day-to-day life, how we can be enriched. So very interesting explanation. So you may have several questions, one by one you may ask. So you are welcome to ask question. Mr. Kumar, do you have any question?
You have told me you can go up to 50 minutes. I have gone 54 minutes. Yes, please.
Later on, sir. Later on.
Okay. Mr. Anand Chiplumkar is there? Anybody is interested in asking question?
I think let them digest and assimilate.
Okay.
So, shall I close?
Maharaj, people would like to say namaskar to you, so we can.
That is true, but let me close my lecture.
Okay.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Maharaj ji. I would request Hiranya Mukhopadhyay to kindly say vote of thanks to the participants and our respected Vidambarananda ji Maharaj. Hiranya.
Maharaj Pranam, wonderful lecture, and I just wanted to convey our heartfelt thanks on behalf of all the devotees, not just from our Philippines Ramakrishna Vedanta Society, but from all over the world, from India, from many other places. We just offer our heartfelt thanks to you. Thank you, Maharaj, and we will hear you again on, I think, 26th or 25th December. And I am personally very eagerly waiting for your talk on Shishima. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiranya.
प्रणाम महाराज प्रणाम
Pranam, Maharaj.
प्रणाम महाराज मैं गुड़गांव से बोल रही हूँ सीता बाबू महाराज
Take leave now.
Okay, Maharaj, you can
We meet again on 26th December.
we are
26th, Maharaj, 26th.
26th December at 3:00 p.m. India time, 5:30 p.m. Maharaj Ji has kindly agreed on Sharda Devi's birthday, that is Tithi Puja, to speak on a very important topic. On Sharda Devi. So we are eagerly waiting for this, and we are so grateful to Maharaj Ji for spending time with us and to help us to better understand how Vedanta can improve our life, and how what in Bengali we say that the Vedanta forest, bringing it to the household or to the houses. Thank you very much, Maharaj Ji, and we will now end the recording. Maybe you may like to stay for some time for informal chit chat. Maharaj Ji will take leave now, because you can, if you have anything to suggest for our program, and you can come back for 5 minutes. Maharaj Ji, thank you once again, and our respectful pranam on behalf of all of us. Thank you, Maharaj Ji.